Let's talk about energy policy. Germany is saying that it will be almost completely independent of Russian energy by mid-2024. How realistic is that target?
First of all, it's a sea change in German thinking. Previously, hyperconnectedness was considered to be part of the of stability. And I think that Putin's war against Ukraine has buried that notion. We understand now that ridding ourselves from energy dependence from Russia is a requirement, is of paramount importance for our national security. So the announcement you have mentioned just before of the American president for LNG exports to Europe will be a huge part of that picture. Estimates say that it may replace about 1/3 of the energy imports to Germany to Europe from Russia. So our thinking is right now, by summer this year, the German economic minister has said that we want to slash oil imports from Russia by half. We want to get out of the dependence from coal by September. We want to get as far as we can totally from the dependence from oil by the end of the year. The gas markets, as you know, are a bit different because they're not global markets. That may take a slightly longer time, but we're determined. We want to be free of energy dependence from Russia.
Ambassador, it's Kriti in New York. We know the German economy minister just returned from Qatar. He's securing longer-term purchase agreements. We also know the exports are starting to ramp up when it comes to LNG from the United States as well. Can you speak to us a little bit about Nord Stream 1? Is Germany willing to halt purchases from that pipeline?
We're focusing now on oil and on coal and on gas, obviously. To be free of the dependence from gas will not happen overnight because the gas market is not a global one as the oil market is. But make no mistake, we are determined and we're doing a lot to be able to replace gas imports from Russia. You mentioned LNG purchases in Qatar, in the United Emirates. We're talking to Norway. We're taking note of the announcement of the American president. We are building LNG terminals in Germany. We are altering the architecture of our storage facilities. We are accelerating renewables. All of that is designed to cut off our dependence on gas imports.
Ambassador, you have been a student of Vladimir Putin's career for decades. Why did Germany not see this coming? Why did Germany put so much of its eggs in the Russian basket from an energy perspective? Only a few months ago, we were arguing about whether or not Nord Stream 2 was going to be opening on time. Ambassador, why did Germany get this so wrong?
Because it had been an axiomatic element of German stability thinking that hyperconnectedness and that interdependence would be conducive to stability. And I would point out that over the past 30 years, Russia, with regard to Germany, had been a reliable partner. But that has altered overnight when Russia made clear that it was going to challenge the fundamentals of the European post-war and post-Cold War order, and that it was ready to weaponize energy dependence, energy exports, and energy relations. That's a sea change for us, and we have taken swift action to draw our policy conclusions from that.
Ambassador, in the same vein, we know that Germany and Europe broadly has made a lot of changes when it comes to renewable energy. And we know before the war in Ukraine really broke out, there was already issues when it came to energy supply this past winter. Do you feel like the transition perhaps, or the speedier transition to those renewable sources has perhaps left Germany and Europe broadly more vulnerable to these commodity shocks?
Well, it has become blatantly clear also as a consequence of Putin's war against Ukraine that transition to renewables is part of the national security picture overall. So it's not only about environment, about combating climate change. Moving towards renewables is part of the national security requirements. So I would not totally agree with what you just have said. It's not, it does not delay, it actually will accelerate transition.
Ambassador, is Germany now ready to provide its own security, or provide enough to ensure its own security? We are going to see a significant rearmament. My question to you is, how do we ensure that that rearmament is delivered effectively? And also, what is the primary security architecture in Europe going to be going forward? Is it going to be NATO-based, or is it going to be EU-based?
It's going to be NATO-based, and it's going to be EU-based. There are like communicating pipes, and you should see that European efforts in reordering its security environment is actually a security asset to NATO as well. The way we cooperate happens in an environment where we are mutually reinforcing what NATO and what EU can do respectively. So both is important.